I am back from my vacation in Canada and back to a very hot country in Turkey where we live at the construction site. Finally moved into my studio with a long extension cord cable and setting things up haphazard as it is. It's all flowing. Today's podcast episode is a gem. It really is a gem. We've got a very special guest who will share her experience with working with spirit and energy in design, in styling, interiors. And she's just such a magical soul. And I'm so excited for you all to meet her. Her name is Olga Naiman, and she just has so much wisdom oozing out of her. And I'm so excited for you to all hear about her very unique approach to design. Welcome, Olga, to the show.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be here and talk about my favorite topic.
Yay! That's awesome. And you're in transition as well, like myself, right? You have a house under construction, children, and how is that going?
You know, it's really interesting. We're living in a lot of long-term, like short-term Airbnb rentals. So there's this kind of feeling of how do I make something feel like home so that my children feel safe and we all could kind of relax into the space without bringing a lot of my stuff in, because I don't want to like have to pack and unpack. We have to keep moving, you know? So I'm really in that question. And it's like, what is this idea of hominess? Like, what is the quality that takes like a space into a home? How does a house turn into a home?
Oh, I love it. I love these questions. I also love the fact that you're really conscious about, okay, how much stuff am I taking into our current space? What am I going to take into the next one? And then this theme of how to make a home homey. Can you expand a little bit more on that?
Yeah, it's this kind of quality that's hard to be named because it's so personal. You know, it's like one's experience of spirit, you know, it's so personal for everybody, but yet there are these commonalities. So it's like when you want to come in and you don't want to leave, like there are spaces that are beautiful to look at and functional, but they don't feel homey, right? We've all been in spaces like this. Yeah. There's a quality of coldness, like you could admire it, you could photograph it, you could put it on Instagram, but you don't want to stay. And for me, it's that quality that makes you want to stay and be in relationship with the space, like over a longer term, that defines hominess. And it's a quality that really touches more than sight. It's like touch and smell and, you know, just kind of how the taste of things are, like how things like affect your soma, your body. That is an important dialogue between your body and the space in this question of hominess.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And Olga, how did you come to this consciousness, this realization, this, you know, about the relationship between the body, as you say, soma, with the space?
I started my career in interior design at 22, but I was never trained as an interior designer. I was trained as an editor, working on the job, working for like big name American magazines from the US. And they would send me as a young editor to, you know, style this, like create, like I would design rooms to photograph for the magazines. And I would also go to the homes of like amazing, moneyed, wealthy people with beautiful taste, whose homes would be beautifully designed. And I would like literally absorb body intelligence just from my body relating to the spaces. Like some spaces were beautiful, but a bit aggressive, you know, a bit like some spaces were really cold, but they photographed well. So I saw the difference between the photographs. And this is where a lot of people get tripped up, because they see photographs on Instagram or in catalogs or on the 2D, and they think, I want this. I want this. But that's not a somatic experience. So when I was trained, like by putting my body into hundreds and hundreds of all kinds of different homes, I got a felt sense of what feels good and what supports my nervous system and what supports my expansion, what supports like this human body living in this experience. So, and because I was doing that kind of work for my own self and my own healing, of course, I was interested in this conversation. It was very pertinent for me. So that's how I started developing that kind of knowing of the body choreography, how the body responds to space, how the body responds to materials, and really deepening that conversation rather than intellectually learning it. I got a somatic absorption experience.
Oh, that's incredible. Yeah. I mean, that's just so key, right? The work that I do with my clients incorporates just what you talked about with the images that we are exposed to on social media, right? Instagram, Pinterest, and that it's a 2D experience, but it's not a somatic one. It's not one that, it's actually just feeding the mind, right? Mind with the small m, right? And I realized after working with several, for many, many years with various clients, that one of the biggest mistakes that we make as architects and designers is lay out a whole bunch of pictures on the table from social media or magazine clippings or whatever. Not to say that a collaging approach is bad, not to say that, but that requires a certain sophistication and artistry, right? But what I was noticing was, I want this house, I want that house. And as I started to grow my my consciousness and do meditative practice and grow my own spiritual approach, Olga, I realized, we actually need to go inward first before we depend on the external. And it just, what you're saying is resonating so much with me. And I just picture you in these spaces going in, and the way your body is actually moving and showing me this is your hands go in, showing the direction of moving within, and your eyes are closing. Right? And so that I'm reading your body language right now, and it's telling your body is telling me, go within. I'm going within, and your body trained itself, or you trained your body to go within each and every time. Now, I think, of course, I'm sure that your spiritual practice supported this realization, or the consciousness of the subtle dimensions of spaces. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, thank you. It is such a process of going within, and that's kind of, there's a seeding. So you want to find this seed because you're planting a seed that you're going to then grow into a space, right? So it comes with the seed, and the seed is, I feel like the Pinterest collages and all those things are beautiful, but that's not the first step of the process. That's right. Like second or the third step of the process. So and everyone has their own process.
Yeah,
this is
absolutely.
We all create in the way that works for us.
Yeah.
The way that I do it is, and this is how I created Spatial Alchemy. It's based on the knowledge of the alchemical process. And the alchemical process has steps, and these steps are repeated through nature in the seasons, in even how a tree grows. And it's the same process. And because it's repeated in nature, I feel like, okay, well, it works because it's everywhere. It's everywhere. So I feel confident. A lot of times we're like, in our spiritual journey, especially at the beginning of our spiritual journey, we feel blind and that we're kind of feeling around in the dark because what we used to do is no longer working for us. We don't know what to do. So we're in that blind part of the journey, right? We all go through that blind part of the journey where the new hasn't appeared and the old is disintegrating before our very eyes. And we're like,
where am I? It's a dark night of the soul. Yeah.
It's a very common part of so in that blindness, look to nature, look to how, nature does it, and look to like the seasonal cycle. So the going within is kind of like that winter, right? That's the December 21st, which is like the first solstice. Like, so it's this like deep, like going within into the stillness, into the silence, and almost almost not thinking through the mind, but feeling through the heart what it is you want to experience in the space. What is the seed you want to grow? You're moving into I move into my future self. Like, what is it that I want to materialize, that I want to bring into matter? What is the energy that I want to give life to, that I want to incorporate, put a structure to, right? So you need to feel the energy first rather than looking at other structures, because those are connected to other energy fields. And we don't know what those other energy fields are. We need to feel our own energy field. Like, what is it? Is the space, do we need to calm our nervous system? Or are we someone that needs enlivening because we're a little slower than we beat ourselves up for being too slow? Who are we? Who is our family? Where are we going? Who is the client? What do they want? Where do they see themselves in 5 years? Where do they see themselves in 10 years? And it helps when you're in a spiritual practice to navigate them through that a little bit, to do a meditation. I do a meditation with my clients. We kind of we do an opening ceremony to a conversation of who is your family? What are you releasing? I go to their old house that they're currently living in. What are you releasing? What outdated identities are living in this house that you don't want to bring with you? What do you want to grow? So that's the seed, right? That's the step one of the process, this going within, this feeling. And you want to give it time, because it doesn't go from December 21st to March 21st like this.
Gestation process.
It's 3 months. Look at nature. Look at the year's cycle, the stars, the cosmos. So it's that quiet period is 3 months. And then at the beginning of February, things start to grow underground. And I'm talking about the Northeast. I'm talking about my climate, because I'm aligning myself to my climate that I'm living in, my environment. And those who live in other environments look to their nature. If you live in a jungle environment, that might be a different process for you, I've never lived in the jungle, so I don't know what that is.
Well, the cycles will be apparent in other aspects. Even I can just imagine even daily cycles in the monsoon seasons, right? 5 minutes of rain and then whoosh, the sun, right? There's cycles within cycles within cycles within cycles. And what you're sharing, Olga, I get shivers. That's there's an impulse there that is similar to the sacred blueprint that I've been called to steward, really. I don't call it my own. It's really something I'm stewarding rather than, and it's really just about hearing nature, Mother Nature, and her depth, not necessarily only the rainbow butterflies side, but she's got to go through the darkness, right? She's got to, or she takes us through the darkness, just like you said, in the winter. And it speaks to also more of this Eastern traditions and philosophy where there's actually more of a slowing down, a ceremony process where you don't just get the product as soon as you buy it off of your phone, right? Oh, I just bought, and that's actually where we're going, Olga. I mean, buildings are now being designed for the metaverse. It's pretty scary. And soon you're going to just like, you're just going to be able to like talk to AI, and, you know, AI is going to, you know, you're going to tell AI to design a space for you. And then AI is going to, you know, you're going to print it out and there you go.
One thing that AI doesn't have though, you know, just jumping in here is the soul, you know, and this is what we're speaking to. And this is kind of the other side of the AI is one thing. It's kind of the MIC design, like fast design. And this is kind of the other side, which is the soul, like the human evolution, the soul of a home. So in order to like create a soulful home, the process, just like slow food, you know, it's the same, or slow fashion, you know, it's like the craftsmanship and the depth to bring meaning. If it doesn't have the meaning, it's just going to be surface. And there are these, you know, like it's going to look good. It could look good, but what's that hominess? What's that feeling good? And what's that supporting of the psyche? So the way I see it is that there's a big correlation, a massive correlation between spaces, your home, your psyche, and manifestation. And we, in order to start like playing this game of life with some skill rather than blindly, we want to start watching this correlation. If I shift this around, if I do this, if I remove outdated identities from my home, if I change out my desk to make it more solid, what happens? What happens to my soma? What happens to my psyche? And then how does life start reflecting that back? Because after you do that several times with awareness, making these changes, making these shifts, life starts to shift to show you a different movie than the movie that you're watching.
Right.
And you want to start clocking that. I'll just wrap up to say, you want to start getting wise to that. That's wisdom, like cause and effect. I do this. Life shows me this. I do this. Life shows me this. You want to start understanding this.
I love it. I think we're getting just a bit of cut off, maybe due to our, you know, some construction site internet. But I heard everything you said. You do this, life gives you that. You do this, like, and I'm like, as you do this, Olga, with your hands, I love reading people, your body. It's beautiful. Just like how you design, right, will give you this, right? And if we're designing in a more superficial, not conscious way, not to say that everyone has to follow and adopt this modality. I mean, everyone has free choice and a free consciousness, right? Free will. But what I see as an incredible benefit to your way, Olga, is I can just imagine that on a deeper level, you're helping people to transform on a deep level, on a spiritually, physically, emotionally, attracting the life that they desire. And actually, as I share this, I think about your shelf story in one of our last interview, and how your shelf attracted your man.
Yeah, I use physical space as metaphor. So I'm giving life to the energy that I want to see come back into my life, because we know that as designers and architects, we feel the intensity of the relationship that we have with our spaces. We feel that. And you could, like anybody feels that. You come home your house is disgusting and dirty, you feel a certain way. Your house is beautifully cleaned, you feel a certain way. Our bodies feel the relationship. So I personally feel that those architects and designers who are bringing those spiritual conversations to their clients will be more and more sought after as the collective awakens. You know, right now it's smaller numbers, but we're growing. Even in the last year, even in the last 2 years, if you think 5 years ago before COVID,
there was no one.
There was, or maybe we were quietly doing it far, like no one,
or hidden.
We didn't talk about it. We didn't talk about it in the same way, you know? I mean, there were a few people that did feng shui really open.
Absolutely.
The door, you know? But we have a Western system too, and this is what I find interesting. Feng Shui is amazing, and it does answer so many questions because it's in the Western consciousness. It's come out like, you know, the energy and the space and the relationship. And if you move certain things, this will happen. It talks about the correlation. And we could look to the East for that. And that's amazing. The East it's feng shui is in the Taoist tradition. I venerate it. But we also have our own traditions in the West. And especially if your consciousness is identified with the Western psyche, it's a faster way to go through your own culture because it's like plugged in, you know, already.
It's part of your genetic, your patterning, your codes, your blueprint. Like there's a whole lineage behind you that you can actually assimilate, process, purge if necessary, and then keep going to be a leader. In that.
Yes. And the more we bring those things into, I feel like, the collective consciousness, the more people want it. They yearn for it. The more they want spaces that are soulful and meaningful and address like their higher selves rather than, oh, that looks cool. This looks cool. That looks good with that. You know, like, you know, that's fine. Beauty is beautiful, but beauty is not enough.
Absolutely. Oh, I love it, Olga. Yeah. And I love your point. I just want to underscore this, that, you know, as more and more people awaken, we will be the architects that are sought after, especially, again, I want to bring back this AI topic because it's not something to be taken lightly, because I personally have some big concerns, not to say that I'll never, ever use AI. I mean, I remember when email first came out, right? And I was always the last one to get the phone or the last one to do the upgrade, you know, like I'm happy walking in the forest and, you know, not having much tech around me. But so I don't want to be black and white about this because I may use AI in a certain, you know, area of my business in the future. You never know, right? But what is so important for us to make a distinction is what is different between AI and the human being. The human being has a heart, has a soul, just like you shared. And we are going through this process of awakening, this process of spiritualization, not only infusing spirit into matter, right? That matter is becoming spiritualized, but we ourselves are being spiritualized. And more and more people are going to yearn for these deeper currents, let's say. And you know, as a result of this work, Olga, and just speaking from my experience, is that you don't waste so much time anymore on countless layouts, project designs, layouts, options 1, option 2, option 3, option 4, option 5. And clients then don't come back to you constantly changing their minds. You reduce permit issues. I mean, I'm speaking more as in terms of architecture and construction, right? Like if the project, if the land is happy with the project, if the place is happy with the project, then then things move much more smoothly. Again, don't want to say everything is rainbows and butterflies, because that's not the point. The point is that we're going through a transformation here through this process. But I see it as energetic efficiency, to start with that seed, as you speak of. I mean, there's similar currents. It's amazing with the sacred blueprint. And, you know, to take people through that journey, the cycle of life, so that they birth a blueprint that is truly aligned with their souls. I remember,
Totally.
I remember one of some clients that I was gonna potentially work with, they shared that they had a house designed by a pretty famous architect. And they're like, yeah, it's a nice house. It's a great house, but it's kind of like, it's his house. We kind of feel awkward in this house because it's his house, right? So what's the point then? And can you imagine if you're in a house that's not really your house, what that does to your body? And I think you have just so much wisdom to share about that topic. I mean, can you start teaching at universities too? Have you ever taught at all? Do any?
That's the plan. That's the plan. I have, I've been giving lectures. I've been on panels. I've been, you know, I've spoken, I've taught, you know, small groups, master classes with like kind of spiritual teachers, for example, like people who have like a coaching practice, or people who are, for example, integrating their psychedelic experience. Say you have a peak experience, you take mushrooms, or you kind of connect to God through your meditation. Doesn't have to involve any kind of medicine. So you have this experience, and then how do you bring it down? And like, you come back to your life and you're like, okay, well, nothing.
What the hell am I going to do with all this information?
But like, everything is exactly the same. People don't know how to integrate. So that's one thing that I want to teach more of. And yes, I want to teach in universities, because this is not taught in design school, because it's like there's a schism in the Western psyche. There's a collective wound where energy is over here and matter is over here. And it's like church and state are separated, which is good in certain ways, but other ways, not so good, you know? Like there's like, when energy and matter come together, there's a flow and there is an efficiency. Everyone thinks that these energy people are so woo-woo that they're like, la, 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 la. No, no, this is like, if you design with energy in mind, then you're efficient, you're practical. Like you bring both sides of the brain together, not just in this like linear, you know, left brain process, which we need, but we also need the right brain. You can't not have that. You need to flow with both. So that's what I would love to teach.
I love how you speak about, bringing the both sides together, and that it's not about like woo woo, or, you know, like airy fairy or la la la, as you said. And I think that that's a big fear that a lot of the women architects and designers that I either coach or have conversations with who are interested in coaching with me. I do mentoring work, as you know, and there is that fear that they will also be ostracized or persecuted or mocked, laughed at for talking about spirit. And that's a deep wound. Actually, even as I speak about it, I can feel it big time. I
feel it moving through my own psyche and like through my body, you know. And it's really interesting. I had that same fear, and it took COVID to like get over that fear, because I was like, oh, people are ready now. Because I thought I had a very lucrative career in the like high echelons of like US design. I was styling for the magazines. I was traveling all around the country and the world. You know, I was an editor. I was a designer on my own. Like I had like a nice career.
Like, why did you leave that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I haven't, but I was like, designers would hire me to kind of up level their projects, photograph them and get them into magazines. Like I would kind of bring this secret sauce, and that was my money. Like, I was like, if I start talking about this woo-woo stuff, all these designers that are paying my bills, they're not going to hire this woo-woo woman, to bring energy. No one cares about energy. I was petrified that I was going to be left with nothing, that I was going to leave my career without knowing what I was going to jump into. So this fear is the first step of the process, because there is a courage that we need to have to begin to talk about these things and to really bring your soul mission into your work. It does take some courage. I know, because I literally have to step over myself many, many, many times. It's not like I did it once and now everything's rosy.
No.
No. It's like every single time I write an Instagram post, I'm like, oh my God, it's like, I can't believe I'm talking about this. Like, like, or like in anything, it's, these conversations need to happen, but they take courage to have, and they take an inward looking, and there's always going to be self-doubt. Don't wait until you don't have self-doubt, because that's just not realistic. It's not realistic. The confidence comes in doing it and just getting over fearing looking stupid and public humiliation, these wounds in the psyche. These are all very real. And once you navigate yourself out of this, you could then navigate your clients better than before, because you understand the human psyche, because you've understood your own.
Yeah. Oh, so beautiful. I'm getting chills all over, Olga. I mean, it's so profound. And I love that, your spiritual wisdom isn't about spiritual bypassing, which we see a lot in the we're going to 5D group, like, it's like 5D, well, leave all your problems behind and we're just going to ascend to nirvana or something. No, it's a process, and that we go through it over and over again. I mean, the thresholds that I'm crossing in my business are insane and challenging. And I go through like moments where I have panic attacks, and again, another round of, what would you say? The alchemical process, right? Turning the lead into gold. And I love your advice about go for it. Don't wait until you don't doubt yourself, because it's going to come in. The mind does that. And the mind has been programmed to help you survive, right? And to keep you safe. And there's a lot of trauma in our lineage as spiritual women, spiritual women who are now coming out of the closet, right?
Yeah.
And so I love this. I think, the listeners will benefit a lot from your wisdom, are benefiting as they listen. And we got to, do this, women. It's a movement.
Yeah. I mean, it's the movement of continual death and rebirth. You are killing and rebirthing yourself over and over, over. That is the lead into gold journey. How do you turn lead into gold? You don't do it just with rainbows and like lightning bolts. You do it by removing, like shedding your skin over and over and walking through the fire. In a lot of ways, you walk through the fire on your own limitations and of cultural limitations. But what we do know is we have each other, and that's more and more of us are coming in. And I'm hoping that it's conversations like this that show people that, yes, it's possible to bring together the energy and matter conversations to heal the wound in the Western psyche, like from this postmodernist, linear, logical, square kind of boxes, high rises, kind of very masculinized white design, like white. Everything is white, and that
Everything
means
is
the
white.
spiritual.
I open the
Everything
newspaper, it's everything. Yeah.
Everything is white and natural wood. I'm sitting here as I sit in an Airbnb that
I
has,
know. Yeah.
you know, so it's like everything is white. And I believe that people who don't connect into color are literally separating from like the breath, like nature is in color. Nature is not white. You know, like people are like, oh, white is pure, white is spiritual, white is clean. You are denying the experience of nature and the body. You know, it's a very, patriarchal kind of linear system preference. Right. And bringing color and juiciness and warmth into design, into modernism. You don't have to not have modernism, but how do you make it like yummy? Right. Yeah. With color and sensuality. And
that's the feminine. That's the goddess, Olga.
That's the goddess.
The goddess is speaking through you right now. Big time.
And the linear, we don't want to take away the God.
It's not about it's not about that one formula, Exactly. It's not about like, oh, well, I'm an organic architect and I need to do organic shapes all the time.
Yeah.
No, there are some, the house that we're living in, this is like, some of things were not under my control. And that was my learning process, Olga. I have this concrete block structure, slightly L-shaped, but basically like a sugar cube, like this. And my challenge is how to bring the feminine, how to bring the feminine into this structure. And more, I'm realizing, okay, these corners are actually stabilizing me. They're bringing me grounding. I'm more watery. I'm more fiery and watery. And so the block structure of the general house provides me that anchoring. And now I'm playing with color and movement and bringing curves and circles in the interior. And I think each project has its own story and own spirit to listen to. Yeah. Well, Olga, this has been amazing. I feel like we could go on forever, but I want to save another round of deepening for the interview series. You are going to be speaking in the Sacred Blueprint interview series on September 11th. I'm so blessed to have you in the circle. It's going to be a powerful event. We have an incredible circle of energetic design experts. So for listeners, you definitely have to sign up for this event. It's international. And it goes on for 8 days straight. And Olga will be doing the final interview. We'll have a party. Let's have a party the final day.
Yeah.
So, I'm really looking forward to that and to hear more about, okay, so you have all the philosophy behind spatial alchemy. But okay, how can we, I'm sure a lot of women are asking this, it's a recession, quote unquote now. I don't use these words because I don't want to put that into my energetic field. But right now there are some challenges with costs, labor, the economy. And there are a lot of women who are hesitating right now. They're miserable in conventional architecture. They're miserable with their current job situation. And they're probably asking, okay, well, how many clients can I actually get with this modality? And can I build a successful business based on bridging spiritual wisdom with design or architecture? So I look forward to diving a bit more deeper into that and hearing more about your process with your house construction too.
Thank you. Yeah. I can't wait to talk about that. I think this is that kind of those first steps and that kind of pulling the clients in and bringing in, using your frequency and emanation to begin to pull in is a very powerful life skill to learn.
Oh, I'm excited.
And we can use our spaces to support us. That's the last, sorry. So
use our what?
As designers and architects, we can use our own spaces to pull that in. And that's what I want to talk about with you.
Oh, I love that. Okay. Yes, please take note of it. I'm going to write that down. I love that. I love that. That's beautiful. So Olga, for listeners who want to get in touch with you, how can they learn more and contact you?
Well, you can follow me on Instagram. That's a really good way to kind of read a lot. I write a lot. There's a lot of beautiful pictures that I post. So you follow me, feel my vibe, DM me if you're interested in speaking further, if you're interested in any kind of consulting. I'm going to be teaching a class this fall, date to be determined. I'll announce it on September 11th when we're
perfect.
So speaking about the alchemical process, about taking yourself through 13 weeks, 12 to 13 weeks of an alchemical process and learning the mechanics of alchemy so that you could plug that into your design.
Oh, so exciting. Oh, well, we look forward to hearing about that.
Yeah.
Really look forward to hearing about that on September 11th. Everyone, make sure you sign up for the Sacred Blueprint series. You can go to the sacredblueprint.com and then click on the interview series tab and sign up for the event, and you'll get all of the Zoom access details. Oh, and also you are going to get to ask Olga anything you want during a bonus Q&A session when you join live. So this is only for participants who join live. Otherwise, if you can't make it live, recordings will also be available for a limited time. So can't wait to see you all there. And Olga, thanks so much for joining. And I really look forward to the interview on September 11th.
Me too very much. So thank you for having me.
All right, bye-bye.